Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new, very special episode of the Metal Meltdown. I am here with the maddest Mike around, Mad Mike. How are you?
Hey, fucks. Oscar says hello.
It's a little Oscar. I love him.
Yeah, he's awesome. All right. But yes, I am doing very, very well. Well, things in Ontario aren't doing very, very well right now,
Be careful, we might get political.
oh
Daring
God.
daring to recognize that situations are rough right now. That might get a little political for some people.
Yeah, we're libtards, whatever.
Yeah,
But
SJW, snowflakes, fake news. When I did that CNN breaking news gag in the Black Album unboxing video, someone was like, CNN's not real news. And I'm like, bro, it's a fucking joke. Chill the fuck out. Also, we're Canadian. We don't give a shit. You take your culture war nonsense elsewhere.
yeah,
But anyway, apologies. Please feel free to continue.
So what were we talking about today?
Yes, that's actually just what I was getting to. Today, we're talking about every single studio album from legendary English rock band Led Zeppelin, probably the most influential rock band ever, aside from what, maybe the Beatles? I don't know. I would definitely hold them in that same regard. This was actually by recommendation of Mad Mike. I loved it because, I mean, they're not metal, but they definitely paved a way for a lot of the things that define metal, the fantasy lyrics, the twin guitars, Robert Plant's howling vocals, and let's just be honest, the fucking very sexual, charismatic stage performances as well. I mean, that absolutely paves the way for, Rob Halford and Axl Rose and so many other fucking sleazeballs of the 70s and 80s. So
yeah, there totally wasn't like 10 socks stuffed in Plant's pants, but yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, hey, it worked it worked, fake or not, it fucking worked because Led Zeppelin packed fucking stadiums and sold fucking records, and here we are talking about them years later. So just like any other reviewing every album video, I am interested only in the studio albums, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care about EPs, demos, live albums, or compilations. In this case, Coda. I don't care. It's just a bunch of demos anyway. They're not even that great.
I don't care either.
Yeah, like who gives a shit? We talked about it like ever so briefly before we recorded, and it's like I feel like I've said everything I need to say. Just there. We're also not interested in solo albums, spin-offs, and side projects. Even if we were, we don't have the time because guess what? Those motherfuckers been around for 50 fucking years and they're still working. Oh, so yeah. Led Zeppelin. Just give me your brief thoughts on Led Zeppelin as a whole before we jump into the first album.
Well, Led Zeppelin to me was like many kids my age, one of the first rock bands we heard from our dads, probably. And I've loved them ever since I've heard them. They are one of my top 10 favorite bands of all time. On the question of whether or not they're metal, I don't consider them to be, but at the same time, I have no problem for anyone who lumps them in, just because, like, if you think about the time, the heaviest stuff around the late 60s was Cream and maybe Jimi Hendrix, maybe Blue Cheer. But other than that, like, they were the hardest, like, heaviest band going at the time. Black Sabbath came out a few years later. I think Black Sabbath is the first metal band. Don't worry, I'm not gonna blaspheme the metal world like that. But I do say, even though I don't consider them a metal band, I do consider John Bonham to be a metal as fuck drummer. Still is to this day.
That dude was a fucking animal. I dare motherfuckers to listen to that motherfucker play and not be like, yeah, that's like metal drumming to some extent. I mean, and Led Zeppelin as a whole, again, even if we don't consider them metal, there are a lot of rock and metal bands from like the late 70s into the early 80s and even into the 90s that are like, yeah, I learned to play guitar because of Jimmy Page. I learned to sing because of Robert Plant. I mean, absolutely. You can even ask Black Sabbath because they were just kind of getting their shit together when Led Zeppelin dropped their debut. and they were like, "Oh my god, that's the heaviest fucking album in the world. How do we top that?" Like, they thought that was fucking heavy metal by their fucking standards at the time. So like, I don't want to hear the fucking genre police coming in here like it's actually like no, you wouldn't even be here to bitch and moan if it weren't for Led Zeppelin. So scoot along, go home, baby, go home, baby boy. And the first studio album, now that we've got that out of the way, I pretty much share the same thoughts as Mad Mike, so no need to copy paste nonsense. Starting in order, Led Zeppelin, best known as just Led Zeppelin I, released January 12th, 1969 via Atlantic Records. Why don't you go ahead and start us off? General thoughts on the record.
Well, speaking of thoughts on the record, look at what I have here. It is a copy.
Oh, fucking nice.
This is actually my dad's. He was kind enough to let me borrow his Led Zeppelin albums for this. He must have bought this like 50 years ago, and I just listened to it, and it is still in really good condition, still crispy as fuck. But yeah, I just wanted to make that comment. Led Zeppelin I. The first thing I want to touch on is those first two notes you hear on Good Times, Bad Times, like that boom, boom, like that. It just feels like you're hearing history being med, almost like I don't know. I'm sounding like such a pretentious asshole right now, but it sounds like it's almost like the 20th century version of the first four notes in Beethoven's Fifth, like that dun 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 dun. It just sounds like you're hearing history being made in music, and it's fitting that it's the first track on the album, because it's like I can only imagine what it was like in that time. It still holds up well today, obviously, but in that time, hearing it must have been like, what the fuck is this? Like, holy fuck. And then it just goes, and in the days of my youth, and then it's just, it's almost like you're introduced to a whole new world with that. And the album just kind of continues on that energy. Good Times, Bad Times, obviously great song. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. That is probably one of my top 5 favorite Zeppelin songs. I love the dynamics in it. It goes like, it starts off as like a ballad, and then it just goes hard, goes back to soft, goes back to just rocking super hard. And I just love that dynamic. Metallica used that a lot in their songs a decade later.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that exact formula more or less describes every moment of Master of Puppets and Injustice for All.
Oh yeah. And and You Shook Me, obviously great song. Dazed and Confused might be the album's centerpiece. And of course, Communication Breakdown is almost like one of the first thrash metal riffs, like a decade before.
I mean, that riff is so fucking dirty. Oh my Lord. Led Zeppelin may not be metal, but they definitely tap into metal energy with that song. I mean, it is just a loud, rambunctious little snot-nosed monster. I fucking love that song. Oh my God.
Absolutely. And how many more times, of course, it's like it's got that same kind of like loud, quiet, loud, hard, soft, hard dynamic that Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You had. And like I think it's a very strong debut, very great debut, obviously. If there's any criticism I have, it's that they're a little too leaning a little too heavily on their influences, which for any band making their debut, that's going to happen. I actually wrote down because a lot of these songs are they're covers or like reimaginings of like old blues songs from like the 50s and 40s. You Shook Me is a Muddy Waters cover. I Can't Quit You, Baby is a cover of like almost note for note cover of Otis Rush. And since this is a heavy topic, especially nowadays, I wanted to touch on a certain criticism from a certain modern rock band that sounds a lot like Led Zeppelin, and that's always their biggest criticism, is that this Greta Van Fleet, Greta Van Fleet is not original. They're exactly like Led Zeppelin, but Led Zeppelin, they when they started out, they weren't exactly original either.
It's honestly hilarious to me that people will be like, Greta Van Fleet stole from Led Zeppelin, and then in the same breath be like, Led Zeppelin is the greatest band of all time. It's like, first off, Led Zeppelin stole music too. This album being a great example. I mean, copied, sampled, reimagined, whatever you want to call it. But the fact is, they weren't exactly bringing out their most imaginative material on this album. That, at the least, is fair to say. And then in the same breath to be like, Greta Van Fleet copied them. Like, who fucking cares? If you're going to copy, then copy the best. Yeah. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Like there's so much stuff about early Revocation where I'm like, oh, that's basically just like Megadeth and Metallica. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Same with Gojira. There's a lot of stuff in their early discography that's like, oh, that's just like a proggy or Morbid Angel. Who fucking cares, dude?
Yep.
Tunes slap. Tunes fucking slap, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. And like there's that argument that well, Led Zeppelin did their own thing. Greta Van Fleet's just copying, but like Led Zeppelin, they were kind of it was almost I Can't Quit You Baby is almost note for note cover. So it's like
I would make the argument that right now, just Greta Van Fleet right now have a more unique or at least original sound or at least honest sound in comparison to that of Led Zeppelin at this particular time in their career.
I just listened to a couple of their new songs and it's like, yeah, you know what? They're starting to do their own thing now. They're growing into their own.
Battle at Garden's Gate had a lot of different like influences. I'm sorry, if you listen to that album and you're like, this is just Led Zeppelin, then you're not paying attention. There's a lot more going on there. But I mean, getting back to Led Zeppelin, but you know, this does all kind of bring up a certain point, is that Led Zeppelin, they're kind of just getting by on their influences here. And unfortunately, it's also kind of, it feels a little repetitive as a result. Some of the songs just feel like really slow, dramatic, bluesy bruisers, which is, don't get me wrong, I love the blues, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, we could pick up the momentum a little bit. And that's kind of why I love Communication Breakdown so much, because I'm just like, oh my God, this song gives the entire album just a massive kick in the ass. It gets by on some amazing performances and a surprisingly really strong sound mix and production. Like I'm amazed at how good it sounds after all these years.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This is definitely not their strongest or their most ambitious songwriting. Anyone arguing otherwise is not paying attention.
Yeah. So do we want to give our ratings for this one?
Yeah, sure. Warts and all, this is still a really good album. I'm feeling an enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5. It's not the most clever thing in the world, and controversy may muddle its legacy going forward. But hey, tunes are still tunes. They still slap. Robert Plant still sings like a fucking beast on this thing. Everyone still plays like a fucking beast. Take from that whatever you will.
Yeah, and I'll echo it a little bit. For me, I rate mine out of 10 because I'm an asshole like that. And
it's okay, whatever works for you, no worries.
And I have no problem giving this a 8 out of 10. So that equals to what, 4 out of 5? I don't know math.
Roughly, yeah,
something like that. But again, echoing those sentiments, the production on it is really good. John Bonham's drums just sound like mwah. And again, you can see the foundation being laid here. And there's a lot of like really freaking killer songs, and some of them were really ahead of their time. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Led Zeppelin 1.
Yeah, ahead of their time is the aforementioned Communication Breakdown. But even with some of those really heavy riffs, I mean, there's stuff there that predates a lot of like sludge and doom with how like just soul crushingly heavy it is. I mean, just that it's really heavy. It's kind of amazing, honestly. And that, of course, brings us to, if the phone will let me fucking open this up. Led Zeppelin Volume 2, released October 22nd, 1969, really only a few months after the debut is released, which I think is important to bring up because there's a huge shift a huge upgrade, I should say, in songwriting and production, despite a relatively small parcel of time separating these two records.
Absolutely. And the fact that you bring up that they were released in like the same year, like it actually made me think like a lot of like really great bands, like they released multiple albums in one year. Black Sabbath did with their original and Paranoid. Rush did, of course, with Caress of Steel, 2112, and of course the great Psycho Sinner. That's the last time I will go.
Praise the Lord. I mean, I'll give Jeremy Spencer this. He's the only motherfucker to release 10 albums in the span of a year and a half. They're all horrible, but that's not the point. He did it. He used his quarantine time pretty wisely from a certain perspective.
I'm so sorry for doing that. I had to go there. It's
okay. They're like a meme on the channel at this point. So no matter what I do, it's like whenever people are like, do the Chris Barnes E, and I'm like, no, this is a completely different video. Like it's always going to come up. May as well just embrace it.
Absolutely. So yeah, my thoughts, getting serious. I know that's a hard thing for me, but my thoughts on Led Zeppelin II is they basically took they took that foundation from Led Zeppelin I and just, it feels more focused. It feels tighter. Like the songwriting feels tighter. Every riff almost every riff on this album just sticks in your head. Like they are some of the, you see people playing a bunch of rock riffs on YouTube nowadays in the compilations or stuff like that. And it's nothing but riffs from this album. Like it's either Whole Lotta Love or Heartbreaker or Moby Dick, stuff like that. And yeah, this is a goated album for me.
This is absolutely like,
oh yeah.
I'm gonna make a bold statement. This is one of the best rock albums ever written, performed, and produced.
Absolutely.
Like
agreed.
There's like no argument for me.
Yeah.
Every single song on this from start to finish, certified fucking banger. The riffs are iconic. The hooks remain lodged further in my brain than a crown in Homer Simpson's skull. Like it's fucking nuts, man. And this album's also really cool because they're getting a lot more progressive and experimental as songwriters. There's a lot of fantasy lyrics, the band kind of flexing their Lord of the Rings, Tolkien loving muscles. There's a lot more acoustic guitars. The blues stuff is implemented a little bit better with some of the more traditional kind of rock instrumentation. It's very diverse, something that I don't even think a lot of other Zeppelin albums are really as diverse as this one, if we're being honest. I mean, there's just so much going on, so many different tones and melodies. And these songs are just massive. I mean, Whole Lotta Love with that thunderous riff and Robert Plant's roaring vocals and that entire like breakdown atmospheric passage where they're just like din 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 din, just like airplane sounds and moaning and like John Bonham just kind of quietly tapping away on the cymbals.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you just hear him go like holy shit.
It's fucking it's the stuff of legends, man. Jimmy Page's guitar sounds crisp all through the album, but on that song in particular, oh my fucking god, it's crispier than fucking grandma's fried chicken, man. So fucking good.
Oh man, we just heard the first food reference in this Meltdown video. Great.
Another I'm gonna make that like a drinking game going forward. It's just like every time you watch a Metal Meltdown video, for every food analogy, take a shot or something.
Oh my god.
And it's Bring It On Home as well. Honest to God, like it's tied with another Zeppelin song for being my favorite Zeppelin song. That
is an awesome tune. I love how it goes from like a standard blues track and then it just blows up into this awesome riff.
It turns into a song almost as big as an actual fucking Zeppelin. I mean, it's monumental. And as well as like Living Loving, even with the more simplistic cuts, like Living Loving Made, She's Just a Woman. I love
that song.
It's a pretty straightforward cut, but god damn, is it catchy. I challenge you not to sing along to that. I fucking challenge you.
Like that is actually, I looked this up and that's Jimmy Page's least favorite Zeppelin song.
Is it really?
It is.
Why is that?
I don't know. But hey, opinions are opinions, and I guess musicians even have opinions on their own music. But I absolutely love it, and it's a great like companion piece to Heartbreaker that's right before it on the album. I love the riff in it, and like Bonham's drums in it are just so like thundering. I'm gonna say thundering so many times here, but
I mean at this point I don't feel thundering is it's not a worthy statement. Like that motherfucker ain't playing the drums, he's playing fucking Mjolnir. Like he's just going fucking nuts, he's going ham on that shit.
Oh yeah. And of course Heartbreaker I think is probably my favorite song on the album. I actually got a funny story about this one. It makes me laugh just fucking thinking about it. So first time I heard that song, I was in the car with my dad. I was like 10 years old. It was playing on 97.7 Hits FM. Shout out to that great station. And I heard it, and he's like, you know what band this is? And my stupid 10, 11-year-old brain was like, this is Nazareth, isn't it? Because my stupid 10, 11-year-old brain, the Heartbreaker riff, for some reason, sounded like Hair of the Dog. I don't know. I don't know, but it was...
I mean, you're a kid. I'll let it slide.
And I'm just like... And he's like... And my dad just looked at me with like the most disappointed dad look on his face. And like... Led Zeppelin, Michael. So
I mean, yeah. I'm kind of impressed that as a 10-year-old you were like, wow, Nazareth, because I didn't know who Nazareth was when I was 10.
My mom was a huge fan of Nazareth and like played their greatest hits CD a lot when I was a kid. So I heard Hair of the Dog a lot. And, you know, me thinking I was a badass kid, I would just say, no, you're messing with the son of a bitch. And like, you know, but yeah, that was that is how I discovered that is like a really stupid Mike as a kid moment. But yeah,
it's all, I think we all have moments like that. I mean, the moments like that are so universal that they put that shit in like fucking superhero movies at this point. Like, remember Spider-Man fucking Far From Home? Fucking they're in the jet, and he's like, he starts playing Back in Black, and the little fucking Spidey's like, oh, I love Led Zeppelin.
Oh man,
I was just like, you
blew it.
Fucking, I mean, I love you, but you snot-nosed fucking punk.
Yeah. So yeah, that is like basically my serious thoughts on this are, this is an awesome album. Like, again, I echo your sentiment. This is one of the greatest hard rock albums of all time. It's my favorite album of the 60s, though I haven't listened to much from the 60s outside of those Zeppelin albums and the Beatles. Really.
There's not a lot of 60s stuff on my playlist. I mean, you know, what are you gonna do? And I don't know. There's only so much you can keep up with when it was 60 years ago.
Yeah, right.
It's just that simple.
So yeah, and I have no problem giving this one a full rating, 10 out of 10. It's a masterpiece.
And same here.
Yep, it's a goated album for sure. Goated.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where it's like, if you don't like this album, you're just wrong. I'm sorry, but this is not a matter of agree to disagree. You're just fucking wrong. Like, we can argue about the other Zeppelin albums if you want. We can argue about other quote unquote masterpieces, but not this. This is the shit right here. From start to I challenge somebody to find like another rock album from this time, like as heavy, as intelligent, and as well made as this. I challenge somebody.
Yeah. Hey man, it's a awesome freaking album. But yeah,
the only people who can top Led Zeppelin really at this point in history are Led Zeppelin, which, speak of the devil, I guess officially brings us to Led Zeppelin III, released October 5th, 1970. You know what's amazing about that? Just slightly under a year following Zeppelin II. These motherfuckers were working their asses off, and unsurprisingly, it shows once again on this album. This is not as monumental for me as Zeppelin II or even the debut, but I mean, it's Zeppelin, so it's still packed with tasty fucking tunes.
Absolutely. Well, This is probably where I have a somewhat of a warm to slightly barbecued take.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So this one,
Mad Mike about to get mad. Let's go. Let's do it.
no, I won't get angry. No, I'm only angry at Ginger fans, but
Understandably so.
We won't go there. But like this one, I listened to it like long time ago, listened to it again in preparation for this, and there are flashes of greatness without a doubt. Immigrant Song, aka what kids now know as that song from Thor Ragnarok. Since I've Been Loving You, one of the greatest pure blues rock songs of all time. Again, love Celebration Day. The first half is really like the first half is absolutely a 10 out of 10. The second half, I don't know. I see what they were going for on this album. Like they took like a more of a folk rock direction on this one. And I like what they were going for. It's just that to me, some of the songs were just like, could have used a little bit more work, a little bit more focus. Like after Tangerine, the album kind of falls off for me. Like big time. I find like whatever's left after Tangerine is just kind of like I don't want to say filler. I don't want to be too mean, but like it's
not up to par.
Yeah,
or not as engaging or as exciting or
absolutely. And like I feel like they just kind of bleed together eventually. And like don't get me wrong, I will give this a positive rating. Zeppelin fans, don't come at me. Please don't hurt me. But like
what are they gonna do? Most of them are like fucking 70.
Oh man, they're gonna throw their Depends at me.
You don't get it. You're young. You haven't seen you're just a youngster. What do you know? It's like, all right, grandpa, go take your fucking medicine.
But yeah, like that's I don't want to say it's a disappointing album. Like it's a different album. And it's not like I don't like things that are different. I appreciate Load from Metallica, for fuck's sakes. Like I don't. So like we won't go there. But like
yeah, let's not.
Like
what a load, am I right?
But like hey, at least it ain't Saint Anger. But
yeah.
But like I feel like it's half of an amazing album, half could have used a lot more work. Immigration Song, awesome song. Since I've Been Loving You, awesome. Celebration Day, again, awesome. Tangerine, great song. Like it's just, I find like after that it just kind of bleeds together, and I appreciate what they were going for, but yeah, it just kind of doesn't reach the heights of Led Zeppelin II for me.
That's fair. Like you, I appreciate the very folk rock direction. I really actually like the softer, more warm, more intimate production. I like that it's not as sonically heavy and as abrasive as the previous two. I like the more straight up fucking blues cuts that are thrown in there. I like that you still get something pretty epic and triumphant through Immigrant Song. I like the diversity, the flexibility. But I don't come back to this as often as I do 2 or 4 or other albums. And it's not because it's worse. I don't know. It just doesn't, it's never really had the same impact for me as those other albums. I can't even really explain it. I guess it just ultimately comes down to this just not being on the same level, just not being quite up to par.
Yeah.
There's still great stuff though. Like I really like Hats Off to Roy Harper. I like Tangerine, Gallows Pole, Immigrant Song. I mean, what more can be said about that song that hasn't already been said? I mean, it's just a badass fucking song. I mean, you know, and it's slightly off topic, but like that song being in Thor Ragnarok was just like, that just confirms how fucking badass this thing is. Cause like you got You got the God of Thunder, Thor, wailing down on like alien demons in like, I don't know, whatever Asgard, but also Space's version of hell is.
Yep.
And then like there's a giant fucking dragon and he doesn't have wings. He's got like these jetpack turbine things coming out of his body. And I'm just like, bro, I don't care who you are. You have to be a really fucking sour fucking stick of a human being to not love the ever living shit out of this. I mean, and that was always the image I had listening to Immigrant Song. That's why I bring that up. It's just such an epic fucking number. Yeah. Like, there's no person that listened to Immigrant Song and pictured themselves on a warm California beach. Like, no. Yeah. You listen to Immigrant Song, you're like, yeah, I got my sword. Let's fight some monsters. It's just such an epic number.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like I just wanted to touch on this Immigrant Song. As epic as it is, it's 2.5 minutes. Like it shows up, kicks your ass, and gets out. It doesn't waste any of your time, and that's a lot of bands can take notes from that. Cough, cough, Dream Theater.
Yep. I don't need to hear about I'm looking through the multiverse. I see an image of myself. It's like, all right, cool. What does that fucking mean? Get to the point.
Yeah. So yeah, just wanted to touch on that really
I like how it's just like, yeah, all right, Led Zeppelin. Now let's talk about Greta Van Fleet. Now let's talk about fucking Thor. Now let's talk about fucking Dream Theater.
Oh my God.
Very on brand for both of us, I gotta say.
Absolutely. Oh my God. So yeah, I would say I'm scorching freaking rating here, but I feel like a 7 for me. I'm feeling
a very positive 3 out of 5. Of all of Zeppelin's, of these early records, this is probably the one I listen to the least, but I still enjoy it every time I turn it on. Mm-hmm. It's not as cohesive as the other records are, but it's got a lot of interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. But just that last last third of the album just kind of doesn't do anything for me, but the rest of it is pretty goated. So yes,
hell yeah. Moving on. Officially speaking, this album has no title at all. People have come to know it, however, as Led Zeppelin IV, released November 8th, 1971. Just over a year following the previous album. My God, the amount of legendary, iconic material these motherfuckers released in what, like 2.5, 3 years. It's kind of fucking incredible, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And my second favorite Zeppelin album, straight up. I love this fucking album. Zeppelin II is obviously a little bit higher, but I mean, nothing wrong with Silver. Nothing wrong with Silver.
Absolutely. I guess I want to show you another part of my dad's 50-year-old collection.
Fucking yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if that's an original by chance?
I don't know, but I know he bought it a long freaking time ago, and I didn't listen to this one yet. Didn't give it a spin yet, but he kept his records in pretty good shape, so it should sound pretty damn good. But I just wanted to show that and brag. I
don't know why I didn't think of grabbing my Zeppelin records. Come to think of it, all right, I'm already sitting down. Fuck it.
Yep. Man, yeah. This is your second favorite. I'm gonna say it is my first favorite. Again, nothing wrong with Silver. A very, very close Silver from Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah, like if we were at the Olympics, it's like, all right, the judges were deliberating for a bit. Yeah, dangerously close.
It's a split decision,
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Like this was the first Led Zeppelin album I ever heard. Still got my CD copy of it somewhere. And fuck, every riff, every song is just it's just perfection. It has great I don't want to use the word accessible. I don't know a better word for it, but like
I feel accessible is the word, because this definitely has some of melody wise, it's gotten some of Zeppelin's biggest songs and also some of its most simplistic songs, which is ironic because a lot of this material was like written to be as anti-radio as possible. Like, they wrote Black Dog with the intention of it being a song that you can't dance to because it's got this really obtuse kind of rhythm, and then it stops, and then Robert Plant goes, it's like, we don't want you to dance to this. We don't want you to dance to this, and yet people fucking do because the songwriting is just that good.
And people, like, they tried not to be on the radio and they failed miserably at that.
That's kind of amazing, honestly. There's so many rock bands that would kill to have like a hit song on the radio. You know, some bands are lucky. You get Metallica, Green Day, Weezer that can have a bunch of hits on the radio across their discography. But often bands are just like, if I can get one song, that'll be it. Meanwhile, Led Zeppelin's like, Lamal, here's Black Dog. Please don't like it. Please don't like it.
And everyone did. And then everyone absolutely loved rock and roll, and for good reason. It's just a relentless freaking song, even for the time, and still is today. It's one of the greatest, like, pure rock anthems of all time.
I mean, true to its title, it embodies the spirit of rock and roll. It's got that massive fucking drum fill. It's got those like Little Richard fucking keyboards dangling in the background. Just great guitar work, a great breakdown, great chorus, great everything. It's everything that defines rock in that current time and before into one delicious fucking package.
Absolutely. And then and then it slows down with the Battle of Evermore, which to me was like a much better, tighter, more focused version of what they were attempting on Led Zeppelin III, with that like folk rock kind of direction. And to me, it's just like, it sounds so epic while being minimalistic at the same time, you know? And of course, Stairway to Heaven.
I mean, let's just address the elephant in the room. It's one of the best songs ever written. Like, without this and Bring It On Home are tied for being my favorite Zeppelin tracks. And like, I could literally write an essay. I could do like a 30-minute video about everything that makes this track so stunning. It's Robert Plant vocally at his best. It's some of his most poetic and endearing lyrics. It's Jimmy Page with some of his best guitar work, great acoustic stuff, great rhythm guitar, a ripping solo. John Bonham as well. You know, his drumming is very nuanced throughout this thing. We haven't talked a lot John Enswile as well, the bass player, but he's always great on this track as well. He kind of leans back a little bit with Page and just did I get the name wrong?
You did. I didn't want to say anything.
John Paul Jones. Okay, yes. I'm thinking of the motherfucker from Who, aren't I?
Yep.
Okay, whoops. Forgive me, folks. It's not that early in the morning. I can't even use that excuse. Well, I don't care.
I didn't want to say anything. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, we're human. We make mistakes. No worries. But yeah, I mean, everyone just brings their fucking A game to this thing. And this is a very special song for me personally, too, because this was one of the first Zeppelin songs I ever not even listened to, but learned. I mean, I don't talk about it a lot on the Metal Meltdown, but there was a period where I was a singer and a guitarist in a lot of rock bands through high school and college. And, you know, I loved playing this fucking song. I remember when I was working at a fine dining restaurant in Lorne Park, Mississauga, Tukasa. It's long gone now. And there was this New Year's party and they hired this fucking band and the singer lost their voice like right before the final song. And the manager was like, I want to hear fucking Stairway to Heaven at midnight. So dinner service was done and I got up there and I sang fucking Stairway to Heaven and it was a fucking blast.
Awesome.
And we ended up singing with the band for the rest of the fucking night. It was so much fucking fun. So yeah, this is a song I have a really personal attachment to for a multitude of reasons. Even if it was terrible, I would probably sit here and defend it. Thank God it's not. I'm not a huge fan, I gotta say, of stuff like Misty Mountain Hop and When the Levee Breaks. I don't think they're terrible, but for some reason they've just never resonated with me. But that being said, I do love Going to California. I just love that. That song feels like being like that song just like a warm blanket. So it's not so much that they're like different or softer or whatever. For some reason, those two just don't resonate with me. That being said, I still love the shit out of this album. I mean,
absolutely.
If I loved those two tracks as much as I do Stairway to Heaven and Rock and Roll and Going to California, guaranteed this would be like the number one. But hey, like I said before, nothing wrong with Silver.
Yeah. So back to Stairway to Heaven, I do want to touch on something. It has my favorite moment for John Bonham, like as a drummer ever. And that is in the first 4 minutes, because he does not do a fucking thing. and it really does like show how great of a rock drummer he was, because he knew in his mind, he's like, no, this is powerful enough. This part of the song does not need me. And like, he would do that a lot throughout Zeppelin's entire career. Like, as great of a drummer he is, he knew when to just like back up and just let Page and Plant and John Paul Jones just kind of take over, and like the first 4 minutes of that song, like, you know what? And when he does come in, it's just all that more powerful when he does, you know what I mean? So like,
I mean, it kind of lays down the groundwork for like a lot of prog rock stuff and like power ballads with like the scope and the size and the different waves of emotions that it goes through. And it has a lot to do with John's performance, because he does something that no drummer on this earth can do nowadays: sit down and shut the fuck up.
Yep. Cough, metalcore drums. All right.
I feel. Ooh. No, but I mean, we bring up a good point. Nowadays, there's a lot of like metal drummers that don't know. We got to fill the sound with as many cymbals and snares and double bass fills as possible. All these like triplets and beat downs. It's like, you got to shut the fuck up sometimes. Just like calm the fuck down. Like, not everything needs to sound like the regurgitated fucking freak child of slam and brutal death metal and like night and grindcore and crust punk. Like, calm.
Yeah. And like, going to the end of the album, well, I'm actually the complete opposite of you for Misty Mountain Hop and When the Levee Breaks. When the Levee Breaks is actually my favorite Zepp song. And like, it's basically because of Bonzo's drumming on it. Like, that beat in it is just fucking, it's so simple and anybody in the world can play it, but not like him. Like,
that's very fair to say. And that's another moment too, where it's like, simplicity sometimes, that's all you need, less is more. I mean, it's not my favorite song, but I'd be foolish to deny that that's a killer fucking beat.
Oh yeah. And great. And the riff in it's awesome. And like, it kind of like the way Plant's voice is produced on it, it does kind of sound like there's a levee breaking and he's kind of drowning in water while singing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just kind of sounds like that. So, and again, since we're like breaking off into movies or whatever, love the use of the song in The Big Short at the end of that movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
I don't know if I have, actually. I can't remember. I'll happily check it out. I got lots of time on my hands now.
Oh.
Thanks, Doug Ford. We almost got political.
Again, damn it. But yeah, every track on this freaking album. Love Going to California, Four Sticks, Misty Mountain Hop. Love the riff on that one. Yeah, I love every single fucking song, every single riff, every beat, and every time John Bonham shuts the fuck up. It's absolutely like fucking, I want to say 10 out of 10, but you know what? I'm going to go with a traditional Mad Mike rating. It's a 420 out of 69. Like,
hell fucking yeah, man.
A 666 out of 420. I don't know, but absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, whatever fucking works for you, man. For me, this is a 4.5 out of 5. I mean, it's not my favorite, but It's up there. It's up there. It's still probably one of the best rock albums ever written, performed, and produced. Some of Zeppelin's most iconic fucking tunes on here. Shit rips. It just fucking rips. I don't know how else to put it. There's a good chance anyone watching this has heard a majority of the material on this album, more so than any other Zeppelin album. So y'all should already know what I'm talking about. I mean, just go listen. If you haven't listened to it, then go fucking do it. You got no excuse.
Yep.
You good there? You need a minute?
Oh, no, I'm good. I was just kind of waiting.
Like, whew.
Yeah, that album's got me.
Oh, man.
Like, no, it's actually pretty hot in here.
I got the Honeyglow something awful.
Oh, man.
My Lord.
It's actually, like, in all seriousness, it's pretty hot in here. I have to turn my fan off to record and everything. So it's like,
bruh, it's January 4th. What are you talking about? It's warm.
My room is like right above the heater in this house. So like I get all of it, and damn. Brutal.
Unbelievable.
But, yeah.
I mean, I have a heater. I never turn it on. I feel great.
Yeah.
We're in a basement apartment, though. Everything's insulated. So it's always cozy no matter what time of the year it is.
Yeah.
But hey, no one wants to hear about our living conditions. That's boring. You know what's not boring? Houses of the Holy released March 28th, 1973. A slightly more significant jump in time than what we're used to at this point in Led Zeppelin's discography. It's also the first album to have an actual album title and not just Zeppelin with a number on it, but that's not important. Not really. What is important is that, guess what? The songs are fucking great.
Yeah, you can say the songs remain the same quality.
Insert cheap studio laughter. Oh, alrighty. Wow. I might actually, if I have the fucking patience tonight, I'll look through it and insert the cheap. Oh yeah, I'm still here. What happened?
Uh-oh.
Is this like the live streams?
Uh-oh. Are you still there?
Apparently my connection is unstable, but I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
What
yes. Sorry, folks.
I mean, that might end up looking like a whole lot of nothing to them, but all right. Insert studio laughter, move on.
Absolutely.
Fuck, I don't know. It's like the live stream sometimes where it's like, we can't hear you. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what you want me to do about that. I'm just here, man. Bro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But going back, kind of lost focus there. So I think this album, like, it doesn't quite reach the heights of 2 or 4 to me, but you know, how many albums do really? And even in Led Zeppelin's discography,
at a certain
to be honest,
point, it's like, bruh, you can't, like, there's only so many times you can replicate a dish. There's only so many times you can, like, win the gold medal. Like, at a certain point, you just have to, like, settle. And thankfully, what we're settling from Zeppelin is still really, really, really good. I mean, what I like about this album is that it does have, like, some more straightforward kind of rock stuff in comparison to the more epic and folksy material we've gotten used to.
Yeah.
I like that despite that, there's still some pretty interesting, funky cuts. Like, there's a diversion almost into, like, reggae and, like, Jamaican pop and rock music with Dear Mecca, which is literally them trying to be like, oh, this is how a British person would say Jamaica. Like, that's literally where the title comes from. And you also have Dancing Days, which is kind of like a really psychedelic, trippy, kind of laid back number with a very simple guitar riff. Over the Hills and Far Away is another one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of great stuff on here. It doesn't reach the magnum heights of Zeppelin IV and II, but again, it's kind of tough to do that.
Holy fuck. There's a lot of great songs. I echo your sentiment about Over the Hills and Far Away. Love the dynamics in that one. Just goes from, like, this really quiet, folksy kind of sounding song, and then all of a sudden you hear Bonzo come in again, and it's like boom, 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 and like, you know, that dun, 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 like that fucking, it just becomes like a really good rock epic. And like the Crunge, Dancing Days. Those are some fun Zeppelin songs. They didn't really break the mold with those ones, but it's kind of Zeppelin on autopilot a bit. But again, Zeppelin on autopilot is Psycho Sinner's masterpiece, right? So
my God, if Psycho Sinner released something, anything even slightly like this, I would like delete all of my fucking videos about that band and immediately apologize. You thought you could fucking quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen.
And of course, I have a hard time pronouncing it. Maybe it's my like half French Canadian accent, but Deer Maker. I almost called it Dyer's Eve, but not quite.
That would have been a slip up. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. And then The Ocean, that last track on the album, is fucking goated as fuck. You talked about how you played like guitar and sang a long time ago. Like I played drums a long time ago. That song is an absolute blast to play on the drums because it's simplistic, but it's just challenging enough to like constantly just keep you having fun on it. And it's like, it doesn't get boring to play. And I love how it just completely, it sounds like a standard rock tune. And then all of a sudden, like 3/4 into it, it just completely becomes a different song, almost a really heavy doo-wop number, and it just goes do 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 do, and like I just love that awesome fucking time change. Like I feel like if any other band tried that, it would just sound like a disjointed mess. But
they would have been laughed off the fucking stage. Like
yeah, but
without, I mean, it's such a like inherently somewhat corny sound that like you got to really commit if you're gonna do it. Like like a great example is when Guns N' Roses tried to cover Since I Don't Have You, and that just sounded like the most disingenuous, corny piece of rock fluff ever. Like I'm a Guns N' Roses fucking fanboy, and I cringe when I hear that song. I don't like that song at all. And I don't know. It just goes to show how strong Led Zeppelin were as musicians and as songwriters. The change itself into doo-wop does feel initially somewhat drastic, but I mean, the quality is so good that you're just like, I don't fucking care, man. Yeah. At a certain point, it's just like, whatever, we're just vibing. We're just doing this.
They just had that magic touch, man, especially for that song. Songs remain the same. The songs remain the same. Damn it, I blew it. The song remains the same. And the Rain song. Okay, funny story about the Rain song. I was looking this up. It's a ballad, obviously, and like apparently, John Bonham was having a meeting with George Harrison. They were just like chatting and whatever, and George Harrison told them, "You guys don't make a lot of ballads," and I heard that. I'm like, did George Harrison listen to their first 4 albums at fucking all?
It's very likely he didn't, actually, because George Harrison infamously does not listen to a lot of music, contemporary music being released around the time that he's releasing music. Like the most relevant rock band he's listened to, like the most recent rock band he's listened to, but before he died, I should say, was like the Black fucking Crows. Like, this was a guy that was pretty out of touch with the scene around him, even when he was in the Beatles. So it would not be shocking at all for him to be like, yeah, you guys don't make ballads, because maybe all he's heard is like Black Dog or Rock and Roll or whatever.
Yeah, because so like I just thought that was an interesting thing. I'm like, huh? I was like, okay, well,
I got news for you, George Harrison. They've written some of the biggest ballads of all time.
Yeah, so I just thought that was a funny story to tell. But great fucking album. Doesn't reach, better than Led Zeppelin III for me. Doesn't quite reach the heights of 2 or 4. Again, what does? I have no problem giving this a 8.5. I'm doing decimals because again, I'm an asshole like that. Out of 10.
You know, at least you're not doing that shit where it's like, I'm feeling an 8.68 out of 10. Like, like anyone who does that shit can fuck off. Fuck off.
or like
Y'all want to know why I don't do 10 out of 10? It's because of shit like that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want
to. I give it a pi out of 5, a 3.14 out of 5.
Bro, if someone pulled that shit, I'd be like, all right, we're not even doing ratings. I'm just gonna be like, it's good. Listen to it or don't. Your prerogative. You do what you want. For me, it's a 4.197857 Batman signal out of 5. With a question mark.
Sorry.
And a little star hashtag. No, it's a 4 out of 5 for me. I mean, it's
broke me.
Maybe not as ambitious as other records, as we've already said, and we're probably going to keep saying for some of these albums, but it's still a great fucking record. I mean, there's not really any song I dislike. Some I like more than others, but not to the point where I'm still not going to jam to some of these cuts anytime I hear them.
Yeah.
And that brings us now to, if my fucking phone will open, Physical Graffiti, released February 24th, 1975. The band's biggest album with a runtime of nearly 82 minutes and 59 seconds, making it roughly the same time as your average Hollywood picture of the period. You know, if you went to see a fucking Disney movie in 1975, that's pretty much how long that shit would have been too. And that's a big move in and of itself, because, you know, this is not something a lot of rock bands did at the time, unless you were Pink Floyd. And I don't know, I don't even think Pink Floyd got that hefty with album lengths up until what, The Wall? Yeah. So, yeah, definitely definitely a red flag right off the bat. And I would be lying if I was not turned off by the inherent size and weight of this record. It suffers from the curse that many double albums and like massive projects suffer from. It's just too big and too much. But at the same time, it's hard for me to sit here and be like, cut that, cut that, cut that, cut that. Because even the worst songs on this album are still like pretty good. Like, it's just a consistently really good album from start to finish, even if it is hefty. And every once in a while, it kind of throws you off guard with some really wild and epic songwriting.
And this is where I have probably my scorchiest, most hot barbecued nuclear take. Now I like the album. I will say that the first disc or the first vinyl record, however you listen to it, the first one, absolute 10 out of 10. There is not a fucking bad song on the album. There's not a good song on the album on that side. It is all like fan-fucking-tastic masterpieces.
Oh, okay. All right. You scared me. I thought you were going to be like, it's okay. Like, that's what I felt like, because you're like, it's not bad. It's not good. It's
all fucking masterpieces of songs. Custard Pie, The Rover. The Rover is actually a fucking really a much heavier number than people give it credit for. I love that one. Trampled Underfoot. Oh my God. Again, Bonzo's drumming is relentless on that one. And that like start-stoppy kind of riff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know it.
It's like weirdly kind of funky. Like suddenly Led Zeppelin got into Stevie Wonder or some shit.
Oh yeah, it actually kind of sounds like it almost has that same feel as you mentioned Stevie. What's that song? Superstition, I think.
I mean, it's worth noting that Jeff Beck, a peer and close friend and former bandmate of Jimmy Page's, did work with Stevie Wonder on the Talking Book record and a lot of other Stevie Wonder recordings of the time, including the single Superstition. So who knows? Maybe Jimmy Page was like, all right, I'm gonna see what my buddy Jeff is up to. Okay. All right. Well, what if I gave it a little Zeppelin twist? You know, what if a little Zeppelin garnish on there?
Absolutely. And then of course, Kashmir is just that song fucks.
Yeah.
It slaps, it spanks, it fucks, it does everything.
I could be completely sober, not an ounce of alcohol, marijuana, or other substances in my body, and still feel like I'm going on a trip listening to that thing.
Absolutely. I love How would I describe it? Like that riff, it's kind of Shepherd's Tone inspired. You know what a Shepherd's Tone is? It
Not really. Feel free
it's
to.
it's described as like a barber's pole type of like music thing where like it sounds like everything's rising in like pitch or in like the note. It sounds like everything is rising, but it's not.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
it's just like
Okay.
the same thing. Like if you ever played Mario 64 and you're going up that staircase that's going forever. I don't know if you ever played that game, but the music you're
Oh
hearing,
yeah.
that's a
I'm not. I'm
Shepherd's
not
Tone.
that young. I'm
Yeah.
honored you think I am, but I am not.
Oh man. Yeah, it is, and I feel like it's not quite that Shepherd's Tone, but it's close to it. It's kind of inspired by it, I think, anyway. I don't know if it actually was.
It
That's what
definitely
it feels
has
like
this
to me.
feel of like constantly elevating and building tension, but the unleash never quite comes, and it just makes
Yeah.
everything really tense. It keeps you on
Oh,
the
yeah.
edge of your seat, like you're
Yeah.
watching a great thriller movie, you know?
Yeah, and it's just like it gives the song so much intensity, and of
And
course,
like the string work, the synth and
Mhm.
keyboard work, Plant's very he's not, typically even on a ballad, Robert Plant is a pretty loud and sexually charged singer. He's a lot quieter on this. Like this is closer vocally to like an actual ballad for him, like going to California or something. And I really like that because it does kind of sound like he's guiding you through time and space, as he literally says in the song.
Absolutely.
He's some kind of fucking Doctor Strange style fucking wizard, and we're traveling through some kind of wormhole, going through. Look at that fucking thing over there. Look at that weird shit.
Oh yeah.
Or
Yeah,
like that scene from like Castlevania season 2 where he's in that psychedelic multiverse tunnel or whatever.
Oh yeah. Or like it's kind of like or what's that Dune? You watch that and it's like post-apocalyptic. It kind of has that kind of feel to it too.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. I do want to say one thing to my biggest fan and co-host on my other channel, Donnie FTW. I know you're watching this right now, and no, Donnie, Kashmir is not a cover of "Come With Me" by Puff Daddy on the Godzilla soundtrack. Okay, that was Jimmy Page joining Puff Daddy on that song. Shut up, you fucking troll. I still love you, but yeah.
I feel like we need to stop the video and you need to address what the fuck you're talking about. Is this like, have I stumbled upon some kind of wild indie joke from the Dem Boys channel? And like,
so like, have you ever watched Godzilla, like that stupid Godzilla movie from 1998?
Yeah, the one with fucking Inspector Gadget, whatever his fucking name is.
Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, well, like on the soundtrack, and
that's
hear
a lot of movie. Fish.
It's I'm a Godzilla fan. That movie is cancer.
He's a fucking scientist, and he's just there. Wow, that's a lot of fish. Yeah, no shit, no fucking shit. You got anything else to contribute?
But oh my, so
does he do that everywhere? Does he go to a restaurant and he's like, "That's a lot of soy sauce"? It's like, yeah, idiot. You chose. It's a sushi restaurant. You chose this.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's but like anyways, so there's a song on there. It's "Come With Me" by Puff Daddy, but it features Jimmy Page on guitar and it's the riff from Kashmir. And so my buddy Donnie has like always, whenever I play Kashmir, he's just always, "Why are you playing Puff Daddy?" I'm like, "Fuck you." So, yes. I think
Meltdown, as we all know, Puff Daddy invented music.
But he does it to troll me. He
That's fucking brilliant. I love it. I'm going to totally join in on this joke from now on. So my favorite part of this album is when Puff Daddy, his classic cut Kashmir is covered by Led Zeppelin, pretty underrated rock band. I don't know if y'all have heard of them. Shit. I've never even heard. I don't think I've even heard this Puff Daddy song, and I love this in joke. I'm going to do this forever now.
Yep. So yeah, that's a thing that happens, and Yeah. And then again, that first side, it ends with Kashmir, and that's scorching take incoming. That is where the album should have ended.
It's definitely fair to say that like the first half of this is significantly stronger than the second half. There are some cuts I do like. Like I always enjoyed the Wonton song Down by the Seaside, 10 Years Gone. But I don't know, following the absolute bangers that are In My Time of Dying and The Rover and Custard Pie and Kashmir, it does feel a little underwhelming. But at the same time, I don't know. I like these songs, so I'm like, I don't know if I would personally cut them. I mean, it makes sense to do so, but I'm like, but they're still good songs. I don't know. It's a weird situation because it's not like a Use Your Illusion thing where it's like, oh no, half this album is garbage and you just need to cut it. Like it's good material. It's just not on the, it's not Kashmir, plain and simple.
Yeah, I feel like outside of the second side, outside of In the Light and the Wonton song, because that song's freaking relentless. And then In the Light is just a really groovy, very, I want to say heavy, but no, it's a very groovy number. If you included the Wonton song and In the Light on the first side and just kept it on that side, this would have been a fucking 10 out of 10 for me. But I feel like everything else just kind of,
it would definitely make for a more cohesive record. And Bleeding Together is a good point because while these songs aren't bad because they're not as good, it kind of accidentally makes them a little forgettable. Like, you just forget about it. I mean, that's always the issue when you have an album that big, period. It's, I don't know why bands insist on having albums that are longer than Hollywood movies. But
theater. Sorry.
Yep. But, if you're, I don't know, but again, it's a tough call for me because I'm like, I still pretty much like a good chunk of these songs. I feel like some of these songs should have been like just released as standalone singles, and then maybe the album just exists on its own. Because the Beatles did that for years. They would just drop a bunch of fucking songs that would never show up on an album until years later. Like they just had songs that were out there. Like go listen to the fucking Spiggy Spong's Bringle Basket. I don't know why that I don't know. Go listen to Ringo's attempt at writing a song. It's not on the album, it's on the radio.
Absolutely. But yeah, like outside of In the Light and Wonton song, that second side for me, it just kind of all bleeds together, and like I feel like the songs are okay, kind of good here and there. I feel like it's Zeppelin at their most basic, and when you compare that to the first half of the album, it's just like, I don't know, it's like comparing the first two Godfathers to the Godfather 3. Okay, maybe not that you know what, I was a little too mean there. It's like comparing the first. We will scratch that one.
Yikes!
That's the first thing that came to my head. I am so sorry. It's actually more like comparing the first Predator to the second Predator. Good in its own right, but not the first Predator. You know what I mean?
That's definitely a more accurate analogy. Wow.
I shit the fucking bed there. My bad.
Damn.
Oof. No, Godfather 1 and 2 to Godfather 3 would be like, I don't know, Metallica going from like,
Master of Puppets and then Saint Anger.
yeah. So we'll go there.
Fuck. Or like fucking Black Sabbath doing Paranoid, and then like, all right, here's Forbidden, the record with Ice-T that everyone forgets about.
Ugh, nasty.
For me, if I could rate the two halves individually, the first half would be close to a 4, maybe a 4.5 out of 5. The second half would be a lukewarm 3 out of 5. But since I can't do that, it's a total album, so I have to view it as a total package. I'm going to settle for a pretty enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. I 3.5 out of 5. I'm gonna go close to that if you add it up, if you divide it out of 10. But like it's a first half 10 out of 10, second half it's a 5, 6 if I'm in a good mood. I would say it's a 7.5 for me, or a 7, somewhere close to there. So yeah, first half amazing. That great Puff Daddy cover as usual, and then second half is just
truly iconic.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, I'm amazed Puff Daddy never went after Led Zeppelin in court, because like I don't know, it just
yeah. Oh my god.
In your brain, I can see it just like, what the fuck have I started here today?
Yeah, and Donnie's just laughing his ass off, and he's gonna text me, and he's just gonna be like, "Yep, see, it is a cover."
Yeah, he's gonna be like, "Yo, we gotta get Meltdown on Dem Boys so we can fucking talk about the brilliance of Puff Daddy."
Oh my god, yeah, but yeah, that's
like, all right, so today we're watching fucking Spider-Man 2, but who gives a shit? These idiots want to talk about Puff Daddy.
No. I feel like I feel like Oppenheimer right now. Now I become.
You're like, you've opened Pandora's box.
Now I am become death destroyer of the music I love.
What have you done?
Yeah. Oh man,
brother, help me.
You broke me. Shit. It's payback for yesterday on Instagram. So you want to move on?
Yes.
Do we really want to move on to this album, though?
We do. It is an official studio album. It is Presence, the 7th studio album from Led Zeppelin, their final official studio album, released March 31st, 1976. Mad Mike is doing a pretty classic facepalm, so I think that tells me immediately what his thoughts on this album are. Led Zeppelin would release some concert albums and some greatest hits records beyond this, but as I mentioned before, I'm not interested in that shit, so this is where our conversation will end. I think I know what he's going to say, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. What a remarkably average milquetoast fucking record. Like, just super forgettable. It's a hot plate of nothing. I don't hate it, but goddamn, does it ever feel like Led Zeppelin are just going through the motions on this? Also, I forgot there's one album after this, so I fucked up. But whatever.
About to say it, yep. I
realized it as soon as I looked down. There's one more album after this, but this is the one that I can see Mad Mike's been dreading, so the drama remains the same.
This one, outside of Achilles' Last Stand and Nobody's Fault But Mine, Achilles' Last Stand, great multi-layered progressive epic for me. Reminiscent of like other like progressive epics at the time, like Xanadu, like by Rush or stuff like that. Nobody's Fault But Mine, fucking groovy as fuck. And then everything else is just
I listened to this album this morning, and the only song I remember is Nobody's Fault But Mine, and I barely remember that. I'm mostly just remembering the riff and like that repeating vocal harmony in the beginning, and the rest of it is just like the definition of average 70s rock. The production is very weak. The guitars don't have much of an impact. Even the drums don't have much of an impact on this album. And it really just feels like they're going through the motions. It feels like this was made out of an obligation. Like they were busier with other projects, and they were like, "Oh shit, we forgot. We need a record. All right, we'll just all right, there we go."
Yeah, and to my knowledge, it was actually a pretty rushed production. So
which would explain a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Between Achilles' Last Stand and Nobody's Fault But Mine, you have like For Your Life and Royal Orleans, and Royal Orleans almost has the same fucking riff as the Wonton song.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed, almost like beat for beat. This almost the same freaking song.
I almost wondered if it was an alternate version.
Yeah.
Because sometimes bands do that. Like the aforementioned Guns N' Roses did it on Use Your Illusion. They just had 2 different versions of Don't Cry on the same fucking album. Yeah. I honestly thought, like, this is eerily similar. Like, am I listening to, like, a different version? Like,
yeah, or like Metallica on Load when they made King Nothing, and that's exactly structurally completely identical to Enter Sandman. It even ends with Off to Never Neverland.
Oh, fuck. How have I never noticed that? Holy shit, I think you're right.
Yep. It's pretty much structurally the same freaking
That might
song.
explain why it's one of the few Load songs I like. Fuck. Damn, all right.
And speaking of Load, like, this one to me is really, I don't even want to, I like Load more than this. This is Led Zeppelin's Reload. I don't want to say Saint Anger because, like, nothing will ever reach that, but, well, except for Elude Divinum Insanus.
This is, I think calling this their Reload is pretty safe because it just feels like a bunch of, it feels like we're just going through the motions. We're doing this because it's an obligation. Our priorities are elsewhere right now on other projects. Mm-hmm. These songs just don't get the same love and attention as stuff that we heard from 2, 4, or even 3 in Physical Graffiti. They just don't. And it's clear as day. I don't know. I don't even really want to talk about this album much more. It's just nothing to talk. It's a really boring rock record. I would give it a 2. I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't actively dislike it. I'll probably forget about it when this video goes online. It's that simple.
Same.
That's two is like the score I'll reserve for an album that's like just totally, completely forgettable despite everything. So 2 out of 5.
Yeah, it's and I have that identical rating out of 10. It's a 4 out of 10 for me. It kind of saved a little bit by Achilles' Last Stand and Nobody's Fault But Mine, but everything else, like, I almost want to say everything after Nobody's Fault But Mine is fucking trending into butt rock territory.
Yeah,
and
it's like proto butt rock.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin also invented butt rock. There we go. Like, you know,
unlike Puff Daddy, who never stooped to such levels.
No. Oh God, what have I done?
You're like, this is my nightmare.
My life.
Oh, it's fucking great.
It's a tragedy, but now it's a comedy. Fuck. Son of a bitch.
The Joker fucking violin plays in the background. Yeah.
Oh my God. Son of a bitch. What have I done? I shouldn't have fucking mentioned that. I regret it.
You should not have.
Regret.
You should not have. Within 24 hours, you're going to be hearing like 18 million fucking Puff Daddy jokes and shit like that.
Yeah. Or what's his name now? P. Diddy, or is it just Diddy Kong? I don't know what his fucking name is.
Yeah, Puff Diddy Kong. That's it. That's definitely it.
Yep.
You know, Metallica died when Puff Diddy left the band.
Oh, no!
I just made a motherfucking rage quit. That's a first.
All right.
Little Joker poster in the background looking at you like, nothing can save you now, punk.
And then, like, you know, you got Clint Eastwood back here. He's just got the most disappointed look on his face.
Just like, oh God, what?
I had to come back. I had to come back.
Puff Daddy died for this.
Son of a bitch. Fuck. Sorry, I had to come back quickly just in case you actually thought I left for real. So
it's all good. No, I did it to Strong Boys 19 like 3 times when we did our most overhated albums videos. So no worries.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, Presence, 2 out of 5, utterly forgettable, unlike Puff Daddy. Let's move on to an album that I guess I can't argue is especially memorable because I literally forgot about it. But we're here anyway, so let's talk about it. In Through the Outdoor, the 8th and final studio album, released August 15th, 1979, 3 years later. The largest gap between studio albums for Led Zeppelin. In their defense, they were busier with some other projects, but regardless, that's still kind of a big deal. And more importantly, this is also maybe one of their weirder records for a multitude of reasons. I mean, there's a lot of influence from like a lot of island music and pop music. Some people have called this art rock. Sure, I guess if we're going to slap a label on it, that's not the worst one. It's weird, man. It's kind of weird. That's all I got to say right now. What about you?
It's well, I echo that sentiment a little bit. It's got I feel like it's got more of a like almost a rockabilly kind of edge to it, kind of country and western a little bit, especially with like Southbound Saras or Hot Dog. Hot Dog is a straight up freaking line dance song.
You're right there. Yeah. That's full on American yeehaw country shit.
Yeah. And I do want to show something. This is another piece of my dad's collection.
Oh,
in
fucking
through the
cool.
outdoor. And it came in this packaging. And of course you have what I like to joke is the other side of the bar that Pantera took their Cowboys from Hell picture in. Like, so that's it.
It does look eerily familiar, come to think of it.
Absolutely. And haven't given this a spin yet, but I will. And odds are it'll sound pretty damn good. I fucking actually kind of, I listened to it again in prep for this, and I fucking dig it, man. I actually really, really dig it. In the evening, starts off with In the Evening, fucking great rocking tune. And it kind of delves into like a really trippy melody. And I like that. Fool in the Rain, fucking goated.
That's
Absolutely.
a great song. I have to concede there. That's a
Yeah.
great fucking song.
Like,
It's one of those songs where there's a lot of stuff on this album that doesn't work for me personally, but all the stars align here. The string work, the keyboards, the guitar stuff, that really beautiful melody. I like the really weird kind of samba Latin kind of breakdown with like all the maracas and the drums and shit.
Absolutely.
It's still pretty weird, but fun weird. Like this.
Yeah.
This is fucking fun. This is something I could picture being played. I'd play this at a party after everyone's had like a bunch of drinks and shit. You know, it's fun.
Yeah. And then Bonzo's drumming on that song. It sounds like on the surface to be a really simplistic drum arrangement. But then when you like dig into it and you actually look at what he like, listen to like the solo track and listen to what he's doing, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like there's ghost notes all over the place there, and it's got this like weird like time signature on the hi-hats and everything, and somehow it just feels like it still flows, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's some of his most technical drumming, which is insane, because I mean as great as he is, I did never really consider him as being like a technical drummer.
Yeah,
I don't know, but he really shows his chops here. Like he must have been really inspired by like all the different influences and flavors across this album. Like, oh, I get to play with these drums and I get to fuck around with all these ideas. Hell yeah, let's do it. Like he actually probably sounds everyone sounds pretty good. I think Robert Plant's phoning it in a little bit on some of the songs, but Bonham sounds awesome. Like
absolutely.
Now he's the star of the show here.
Oh yeah. And then Hot Dog, we touched on it a bit earlier, but that to me is like this album's equivalent of Living Loving Made. It's a fucking simple, straightforward song, but it's so much fun for me anyway, because all I picture, and you know, as you can see behind me, I'm a big Western fan. All I can picture is that song playing while there's this like big bar fight or saloon fight going on in 1885, like Texas or something. Like, you know, some guy's getting flown across the bar and crashing.
Oh yeah, in like one of those generic Western fight scenes. The keyboard player never stops for some reason.
And it sounds like, you know, it's you hear piano, but no, it's piano. It ain't piano. You know what I mean? it's such a fun song for me. I love it. All My Love, like that one kind of like gets a lot of flack the way Nothing Else Matters does with Metallica. It's like this really sappy ballad, but when you look into it and look why it was written, it's like it's actually a really beautiful song. Like Robert Plant wrote that about his son who like passed away at 5 years old. And you listen to the lyrics, and his performance is kind of subdued on it. But it's just, it fits what he's talking about. And like, when you put all that into the big picture, I think that's such a fantastic tune. The album should have ended with that, to be honest. And like, it could have been like a great, like last track we hear on, you know, the last Zeppelin album, the same way Spit Out the Bone should be the last track we ever hear from the last ever Metallica album, but apparently they're making another one. But,
please don't.
yeah. Like,
you know what?
Like,
I remember when they performed with Lady Gaga at the Grammys, and all of a sudden metalheads were like, "Uh-oh, this might mean they make a album with Gaga." And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Go for it. Do it. Go for it, because that bitch could sing better than James right now. Let's just be honest.
Wrecked.
She can. She's a great fuck. I mean, she's a great singer regardless. And I don't know. But I mean, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna crawl though. I'm gonna crawl.
Yeah,
I'm gonna crawl.
It's you know, not quite up to Puff Daddy's standards.
Not quite
no,
Lady Gaga,
no.
Puff Daddy, and Metallica at the Grammys.
No. But yeah, it should have ended with All of My Love or All My Love, whatever.
I appreciate I like how vulnerable Robert Plant is on All of My Love. I like where he's coming from lyrically and emotionally, but like this almost might sound mean following what you said, but like I can't get the vibe that he's just like phoning it in. He's just not really there.
Maybe.
I don't know. And maybe it's because of the heavy subject matter. Maybe it can be tough, you know? I don't know. I don't know how to put myself in those shoes because I've never been in those shoes, and I've very likely never will, just because I don't intend on having kids. I intend on having more vinyl and more comic books. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate where he's coming from then, but it's just not doing a thing for me. It's one of those agree to disagree moments on a record.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have much to say about the record as a whole. I appreciate the band trying so many different things on their final album. To some extent, I think older rock bands should take a lesson from Led Zeppelin and just fucking go for it. Like, if you've been around at a certain point, you got nothing to prove. Just do some weird shit. Go for it. I mean, we're shitting on Metallica, but that's part of why they've remained relevant, is that they've been the ones who are like, yeah, we'll do an album with Lou Reed. Fuck it. Yeah, we'll do a symphonic album. Fuck it. Yeah, we'll do a movie. Fuck it. Like, they just constantly do different shit, for better or for worse. Yeah. Meanwhile, Overkill and Anvil just make the same album over and over again, and fanboys jerk off to it. And but you know, Led Zeppelin's just like, all right, I don't think they intended for this to be the final album. I don't know. You're more than welcome to clarify. But if they did, then they went out on a better note than most. I would feel a 2.5 out of 5, but a weirdly enthusiastic one, because I'm like, you know what? It's not for me, but there's enough interesting ideas and some really strong lyrics that I'd still recommend this. Like, if we went to a record store and you were like, oh, I've never heard of this, what do you think? I wouldn't be like, it's okay. I'd be like, it's okay. You know, check it out. You know.
Well, I love it a lot more than you do. I really like, outside of I'm Gonna Crawl, which kind of like, you know, goes this way.
Which is I'm Gonna Crawl. It's I'm Gonna Crawl.
Like,
I don't even
really fucking dig every song on this album, even Hot Dog. It's such a fucking fun song for me. And then Fool in the Rain, obviously, All My Love. Carousel Umbra, we didn't touch on that one, but it's a fucking really long, almost circusy sounding song. It's not quite spacey, so like the Pestilence fan in me doesn't like it as much, but it's very circusy. But
I prefer a little spacey, circusy, sci-fi death metal in my Zeppelin.
Yeah, and I fucking really dig this album, and this will be a shocker, but I want to give it a 9. To be honest.
All right. Hey, more power to you. No worries.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, not really outside of I'm Gonna Crawl, which is I want to crawl in a hole. But everything else is just fucking amazing that it just kind of makes up for that last tune. It almost brings it from like a 9.5 or 10 to 9 for me, but like it.
Okay, so just to be clear, if I'm Gonna Crawl was not on the album in any capacity, could you see this being a 10? Because you did kind of be like, oh, it goes from a 9.5, 10 to being like a this.
You know what? Yeah, really. Like, it sounds crazy. I don't care. It's what I fucking like and what I dig. And like, yeah, I think they went out a pretty fucking strong note. If we pretend Coda doesn't exist, which we won't.
It doesn't.
Well, yeah.
Which is, it's easy to pretend it doesn't exist because it's not even really an album. So
yeah.
There you go. Problem solved.
You are right. It's not an album. But yeah, like I think they went on a really high note, and after that, John Bonham left us, R.I.P. And not the greatest drummer ever lived. That's I'm from the Niagara region, so that's Neil Peart all the way, baby. But like he is an absolute a photo finish second place for me. But
he's definitely up there, like top 5-10 drummers for me. I don't know. I'm trying to think what that list would look like. I don't know. I'll save that for maybe another video in the future. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't think this would have intended to be Zeppelin's final album. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they would have gone on to do even weirder shit had Bonham not left, but c'est la vie, he did. And, they went out on a stronger note than most bands. I mean, I think about like, I don't know. I think about like fucking Rolling Stones and AC/DC who are still out there and still just trudging out the same crap over and over again.
Yeah.
And then I look at Led Zeppelin, I'm like, you know what? It's for the best that they ended when they did. I don't think the world would have survived them turning into a bunch of like sad aging dinosaurs.
Yeah. Like, and in all fairness, like there's not a lot of bands that could keep that kind of quality consistent for a long period of time. Not every band can be Cannibal Corpse. Like they're a fucking anomaly.
Cannibal Corpse absolutely are, and it helps that Cannibal Corpse is also a very niche kind of thing. I mean, even within the realms of death metal, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, they're like really campy and like repetitive and corny, but like the people who love Cannibal Corpse don't give a fuck. They're just like, whatever, man. Give me my gore, give me my riffs, and shut the fuck up.
Yep. And so yeah. Hell of a note to go out on, and
I think more older bands could learn a lesson from Led Zeppelin. Like at a certain point, stop trying to make Master of Puppets Part 2 or fucking Rust in Peace Part 2. Just get weird, get stupid, fuck it. You got nothing to prove. Give it a shot.
Yep. Like, yeah, pretty much my sentiment.
And that I suppose does it. That is every Led Zeppelin studio album reviewed by myself and, of course, Mad Mike. Thank you, Mad Mike, for joining us. Thank you to little Oscar the Grouch. It's nice to know that you don't actually look like that little fucking thing.
Well, it is definitely an improvement, and now you know why I don't fucking use an avatar. Or it's like that one picture I use of myself that I just look like drunk and completely fucking out of it.
Yeah, like that fucking metalcore video where it was just dun 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 as it slowly zooms in on your face.
Oh my god,
art.
Oh my god, like that was Trenches is so disappointed in me for that one, but
why?
like
It's true. It's an accurate video.
Oh boy, we just triggered him. So sorry, man. But
he's okay. He'll be all right. Shout out to Metal Trenches.
It was more of a shot at metalcore fans who are just the most. I don't want to be mean, but like
I will. They suck.
Yeah, you've dealt with them a lot more harshly than I have.
I have found that no matter what you say about a really popular metalcore album, somebody's going to get really fucking upset. Like, you could sit down and be like, look, I gave this album a fair shot. It gets a lot of things right. It's ambitious, but it's just not for me. I think they fucked up in this key area. You could offer constructive criticism and be as kind as possible. The fans will still be like, you don't get it because you're an old man and you're stupid. You just don't get it. And in fact, this actually brings up a good time to mention the Metal Meltdown's New Year's resolution. Unless y'all fucking insist, we're not talking about a lot of metalcore, because I'm just done with dealing with these fucking metalcore fans who can't handle somebody on the internet having the audacity to disagree with them.
Oh my God.
I'm fucking done.
I haven't dealt with them in like comment sections. Well, outside of that one Ginger video where they completely proved me right on everything I was fucking saying.
Oh, but, yeah. It was honestly kind of hilarious. Just like, we don't do that. You're doing it right now, dude.
Literally, right now. Your Instagram has nothing but suggestive photos of fucking Tatiana. And you're
like, fucking hell, dude. It's
but I dealt with a few of them personally in college, and anytime they would recommend this band to me and I'd say like, yeah, not really my thing, they just like would go off about how I like dad rock and shit, and like, well, you're not gonna fucking win me over with that kind of attitude. So
no, exactly. It's like, we're the most innovative band ever, and you literally just sound like Devil Wears Prada and Bring Me the Horizon thrown in a blender.
Yeah, so
that's it.
So Zeppelin.
Yeah, back to Zeppelin. I mean, whatever. I get derailed all the time. It happens. We reviewed every Led Zeppelin album and then very likely pissed off a lot of people along the way. Thank you for joining us, Mad Mike. Thank you for getting mad with me at that last minute there.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to reach me, I am on Instagram, instagram.com/madmikeametal. I'm on Twitter. It's not run by me. It's run by Donnie. And he takes stuff I say out of context and puts it on there, and it's fucking hilarious. And
like your love and appreciation for Puff Daddy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck. But, I'm on Facebook too, and my YouTube channel. Look up Mad Mike and find the Bizarro Oscar the Grouch, and that's me. And I'm usually just making really long videos that take 9 months, and that's pretty much all I got to say. And thank you so fucking much for actually collaborating with me. I'm a big fan of your channel, and you actually got me back into the metal scene quite a bit. And I kind of I think I mentioned this to you in chat before, but like, I kind of fell off the scene like 7-8 years ago, reasons I will not get into, but I feel like I got my ear to the ground, and I feel like my passion for metal and just music in general is just kind of revamped itself since COVID hit, at least, and since like watching you and Trenches and 4G, Questy and all them. Sorry, Paragenes as well. Almost forgot to mention you.
Man, thank you so much.
No problem. And I feel like I'm back in the game, and I feel like my passion's just kind of been rediscovered, and like watching you guys has been like pretty much a really, really big reason why. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you've done, man. I can always count on you for a good fucking laugh. I tune into the metalcore video being a great fucking example. Whew.
Yeah, and give Chompy a hug for me. And,
he's actually right here. He's been here the whole time.
Man.
There he is.
Oscar says hi, man. Oscar says hi. What's up? All right, but
he's fucking freaking the shit out now. Yeah, he usually actually sits to the side nowadays, and I'll pull him out if there's a point in the video where I'm like, this would be a strategic time to pull him out.
Yeah,
because If I use him in every video, then suddenly the appeal of Chompy fades away. There's it's got to be a treat when he shows up.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's it for me, and thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and obviously that's it for me as well, ladies and gentlemen, because despite COVID shit, I've got a fucking life to get on with. Can't just talk about Zeppelin all day, as tempting as that is. So make sure you check out Mad Mike's channel. Make sure you check out this channel if by chance you just found this video and now here you are. Press subscribe for updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. Just a little, I don't know if it'll show up, but he's wiggling his little grouch now.
Yeah.
Which definitely won't be taken out of context, so I'm hoping that the image does show up in the Zoom capture. Thank you for joining us. Blah, blah, blah. You have yourself a fantastic fucking day.